What's going on? What's going on? Brutus here with another Town Hall 11 v Town Hall 10 dip video. Where we're going to talk about the bitch attack or witch and bowler attack and what to look for. It's really hard. It's really, in my opinion, not necessary to drop the strategy because it's pretty much all your troops at once. But there's some method to the madness, which is what I will focus on with the drop and what to look for on a base. Why this would work, and why it did. Basically, both hits are fresh for Ghost. Alright, so what we're looking for with this, and in both examples, we're going to see 3 jumps, not necessarily needed, but 3 jumps, 2 rages, 10 bowlers, 10 witches, 2 golems, and CC bowlers. And both examples are like that. But both bases are a little bit different. But the approach remains the same, and what you look for remains the same. So without further ado, let's go ahead and point out what that is. We're going to look for... what makes this work is you do want witches and bowlers to go around the outside. So when you look at the outside... Yeah, it's even over here. If a wizard... If this wizard's right here, it's a bad idea. I'm not saying it will by itself stop the attack. What I'm saying is it might be not as easy to have your army moving as a wave across the base. So the reason being is that wizards fire faster and they do splash damage. So when you have your Larrys out front, taking away all the trash and things like that, like a few zaps and the Larry army is gone, and then they turn on bowlers and then or witches, and that's usually not a good idea. So the fact that the splash damage is really not on the edge works in the favor here. The other part is Infernal Towers. You're hitting them one at a time, some fundamental principles. But your goal for this is really to have your army of witches and bowlers moving as a wave across the base. It's a crude analogy, but Dragloon is one that I can think of where the best results come from your dragons together moving across as a wave across the base way back in the day on Town Hall 8. But that's pretty much the closest analogy I can give, but it's very crude. The other part is when to use the ability of the Warden. So what we're going to do, or what Ghost is going to do rather, is let's first point out where the jumps are going to be. We have 3 of them. So we want to jump right here to let everybody into the party. And then we do want to put a jump here to keep them moving. And then right here as well. Obviously this is way more than 8 tile space. Plus, I haven't seen one with Earthquake. I've seen Mass Witches with Earthquakes, but I haven't seen the bitch attack with Earthquakes. You can put them down early. Because at Town Hall 10 or max jumps, the jumps last a minute. That's a wicked long time in a raid speak. So with those jumps down, I have free access to basically, keeping in mind bowlers and their bounce, the entire base. As my army enters into these things, or as Ghost army enters into these things, these defenses hugging a wall is a good thing. Because the bowlers would not only destroy it, but the bounce takes care of the next defense over there. Not to mention, another key portion of what makes this attack work so well is you do want at least 2 or 3 bowlers and 1 or 2 witches to hang around on the outside. I'm using the wrong color for this, but just bear with me, guys. You do want them to hang around the outside because as these defenses are distracted moving inward, or even this little guy right here, 1 cannon versus a sea of Larrys coming at them with no splash damage in sight, that they're going to win. They're definitely going to win. By the time the army gets into here, this splash damage is going to be facing that way. Same thing with this wizard tower is completely out of not covering the side here. This motor poses an issue, but the motor's going to hit here, and it fires so slow, the bowlers will catch up to it, and the witches will make enough Larrys to catch up to it as well, so it's really a non-factor. No freeze needed because you basically overwhelm the base with the amount of Larrys running around everywhere, complemented by the bounce that the bowlers bring. Plus you have the Warden zapping out and all that good stuff. So clear this up. Back to the basics. We're going to we're going to jump here. We're going to jump here and jump here. And that gives me access, gives us access to the entire base. And we're going to put a rage right here, right in this area because we need that to go down, and right in this area because it's a big section. We want all this to go down. And the last Infernal Tower may seem like you need a rage for it, but keep in mind by that point you have so many Larrys in front of you that the Infernal Tower, even though it's set to multi, it can't keep up. You still have your Royals behind it and your Bowlers behind it. I mean, it just doesn't keep up. So we're going to basically send all of our army basically to Golem here. Whoop, 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 whoop. Golem here. And he doesn't put down the jump immediately because we do want them to bang on the wall some. Get the attention of that splash and that splash. You get some a few bowlers this way, a few bowlers that way, and then the rest like this. And then you have your witches. What color should witches be? How about pink? Let's go with pink. You know, about maybe one or you have 10 of them, so you know, 1 or 2 like this. And then the rest right here, because you do want the majority of them in the middle. But they'll naturally form a funnel here, which keeps your army inward with this forming a funnel. And that'll keep your army going this way. Think of it as a giant V. And then they just head this way. And because you have the witches and bowlers on the outside eliminating this stuff, your army, after they get rid of these structures, will keep moving in the direction you want them. And it's really nice. Ghost does a great job illustrating this. Watch how the army moves as a wave. When it comes to Eternal Tomb ability, the scary point that we need it, I don't think he uses it here because there's so many down there. So many troops down with Larrys and all that. He can overwhelm that with the rage. I believe he wants it in this. He's going to use the Eternal Tomb in this area because there is a lot of concentrated D right here. But I could be wrong, and forgive me if I am. Plus, there's more than likely some giant bombs up in this bad boy. So there's going to be a critical moment in which the witches and bowlers are going to be susceptible to whatever just got done destroying all the Larrys that were shooting on him or being distracted are now going to turn on the witches and bowlers. So that's what you look for with the Eternal Tomb Tome ability, that you want to use it at the point that the witches and bowlers are the most vulnerable. Keep in mind, if you got a crap ton of Larrys in front of you, they're not vulnerable. So let's see this in motion. We'll clear this up. We'll see this one in motion, then we'll come back and look at one more example. Hang tight. All right, we're back with the next example. Same principles applying. Let's take a look at how this one fares. There's some scary points on this base about what we just got done discussing about what to look for and why things work. This wizard tower and this wizard tower, if you haven't couldn't tell already, they're the ones that might pose a little bit of an issue. And I believe this one does down here. And you'll see what I mean by that, about how quickly it can turn on you. Okay, so we know what we're looking for on this. We know how to deploy them. Let's just cut to the chase about where we're going to start. On this one, there's no reason there's a funnel. That's one thing I should call out. There's a funnel breaker here that's natural, really easy. And there's one structure here. For the most part, the funnel is just like a gimme. I mean, one wizard and it's done. Not that he brings any wizards, I don't think. But so basically, rather than having your golems bang on a wall before you drop the jump, so you have time to form the funnel, he can drop it right away. So the jump goes here. And that'll get us to this line. Jump goes here. That'll get us to this line. Jump goes here. I now have access to the entire freaking base. Rages. Obviously, we want one right there to combat that. There's probably some giant bombs up in this bad boy. Tesla stall out points, I believe, all the, which poses issues for, as we talked about, that they're going to turn on your Larry makers or bowlers. So the next rage, I believe, is right here. There's a big stall out point right here that he notices, and I believe right here, because there's Teslas that pop up here, I believe. And there's some giant bombs in there that slow down the progress. Not to mention he has to slow down by the CC, AQ encounter. A lot of stuff that would slow it down, plus high hit point expos and wizard towers all slow down the Larry makers and bowlers bounce. So the Eternal Tome ability gets utilized, I believe, right about here. And so for the 5 seconds, he maintains his army to this point, and at the end, he has enough Larry makers and bowlers up remaining for the push, and both abilities left that he's able to basically overcome the base and take it down. So again, keep in mind how he deploys everything and watch it move as a wave. And the only parts that really pose an issue on the sides like this are right here. Once he gets to this point, this one is, I believe, A-okay. The funnel keeps going because I believe that this wizard gets distracted inward because it's right up against this wall. But this guy is not going to target anything over here. Larry makers get down over here, and it starts to erase some of them with that reach that it has. So there's a scary moment down there. But there's so much troops on there that overcome it. So hopefully those talking points were helpful for you. We'll watch this last one in motion. And once again, it's Brutus reminding you got to be better than a double. And I will check you next time.